neighborhoods.
The way you see it today, it's actually really quiet. Because normally this parking lot will be almost full. No one has anywhere to go. You know, but if they get a little unity together, you know what I'm saying, and get some petitions and sign some petitions about things that need to be done around here. They just accepting what I guess what the city do for them, which is nothing. They don't do anything for them. They harass them a lot. But if you don't have anything to do as an adult, they've got the recreation center for the kids, and that's okay. You know, but for the adults, you know, most of them don't work. They on disability and Social Security. They have nothing to do but sit in this parking lot, and most of them do. You know, and I don't know. I don't know. They need to do something with the school.
Well, for one, I was born and raised here. I was born in 1984. Lived here most of my life up till I was 20 years old. Okay. Moved around here in 2005, and I made it out. I made it out of, you know, I went to school, I went to college. I did these things because of the fact that the opportunities that people get around here are nil. So you pretty much have to create opportunities for yourself. So whenever I do things, you know, I represent where I come from. You know, I remind people that I'm from Northeast Ivy City in D.C.
Some things you can just get, because you have a lot of homeless people around here too, a lot of them. You know, people that sleep on the chairs, or, you know, community needs some help. You know, and whatever you guys are doing, and it looks like it's something good and positive, that's what needs to be done.
Our project focuses on the centennial history of John Eaton Elementary School. With the Community Heritage Grant, we've been able to focus on two areas in particular. First of all, we're creating a website history that's based on the historical booklet that we developed last year. We have so many artifacts and so much information that we'd like to include in the history. However, the booklet form just doesn't lend itself to that kind of extensibility like the web does. So we're bringing a lot of this history online and extending it as well.
I think the pieces of the culmination was this past spring, which we're documenting as well. They had an exhibition in the library. Each student took a piece of the history that they were interested in. For example, one of them walked around and looked at the architectural details on the school. I mean, it's teaching them to look at things more deeply. And I think using what we've done with our students and being able to put it online, which we found after we did this booklet that, you know, people from probably their, you know, 40s and up are interested in booklets, but people that are 40s and down are more web-based. They're more interested in things that are online. So I think having the history not only in the booklet, but also online, and also providing curriculum for other teachers in the city and other places they can use when they're facing a milestone such as this.
Well, I talk about the creation of the historic neighborhood, which is in Northwest, a couple of blocks away from here. I talk about its creation and when it began in 1873. I talk about the development of it in terms of the architectural style, who was the original architect. And I speak about the influential historic Americans that lived in LeDroit Park over the last 100 years and their contributions, which has made it a historic landmark district. Rosa Parks is generally considered the mother of the civil rights movement, but Miss Turlow, the individual that owned the home across the street from me, at the incredible age of 86 in 1950, she desegregated eating places in all businesses in Washington, D.C., 6 years before Rosa Parks gave up her seat on the bus. And that fact is relatively unknown by most Washingtonians and most people in the world. And I felt and thought that that was profound. And that bit of history needs to be told.
The dissertation that I'm doing at George Washington University in the history department. And part of what I am doing involves looking at how the United States government worked with cities and city policy during the 1960s. And part of it involves trying to figure out how people who lived in cities worked with the same issues. The city is unique as well because it's a center for the civil rights movement, and I would argue there it's an undersung center of civil rights movement activity. That's an important part because of the presence of Howard University. Many people were drawn here to work on those issues, and that contributed directly to the kinds of activism you saw within the city itself when it came to local city issues. So a study like this, I hope, can do two things. One, it can say, it does matter. You may not be achieving your immediate goals here, but over the long term, this does have a perceptible, a significant impact.
For the third year in a row, the Deanwood Heights Main Streets held its historic tour of Deanwood churches, with this year's tour featuring 5 new churches. The tour coincided with Deanwood's Community Day, which features food, fellowship, and fun. Oral history of 5 Deanwood churches were presented by representatives of the churches, and the beautiful sanctuaries were toured, and a selection from one choir was even performed. The first stop on tour was Divine Love Baptist Church, Reverend Leroy Clay III.
Divine Love Baptist Church held its first service on November 17, 1970, under the leadership of Reverend Leroy Clay Sr., the pastor and the founder.